Thanks for tuning in to You Are the Magic Pill. Do you often wish that you could just pop a magic pill that would change your life instantly, giving you everything that your heart desires? The truth is, you don't need one, because get this, you are the magic pill. I'm your host, Victoria, and during this podcast, I will be giving you a dose of my truth by keeping it real with inspiring stories and wisdom. My mission is to show you how to fall in love with yourself so that you can discover your own truth. If you are ready to realize that you are the magic pill, then come on a heroic journey with me to remember who you truly are, to activate that power found within. Welcome back to You Are the Magic Pill. Thank you so much for tuning in with me today. I am super excited because I have my friend Dustin Strong on with me today, and you're going to love our conversation because you're going to walk away with so many good nuggets on nutrition. Dustin Strong is the chief clinician and owner of Strong on Health, a private holistic health and wellness center in the Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas metro area. He specializes in applied clinical nutrition, holistic nutrition, and clinical consultation for other healthcare providers. Dustin Strong is an accomplished speaker and enthusiastic educator with monthly hands-on workshops with practitioners and is a regular continuing education presenter and featured expert in multiple podcasts, videos, and publications. As a holistic healthcare practitioner for nearly a decade, he is passionate about helping clients who have not had complete success with traditional healthcare methods, believing that being healthy requires a total approach, taking into consideration equally nutrition, physical exercise, spiritual balance, and personal motivation. He has been recognized as a healthcare hero by the Fort Worth Business Press and a hidden gem by Voyage Dallas magazine. Dustin is a certified holistic nutritionist and an applied clinical nutritionist certified by Standard Process and Parker University. I mean, come on now. That doesn't get any better than that. That's super impressive. And here we go. I'm so glad that you're on with me today, Dustin. Thank you so much for joining me. Super excited. How long have we known each other, by the way?
Back when you first started talking about being the magic pill, I think. So I'm going to say, 8 years, maybe more.
I forgot I told you about that.
Yeah, that was like in our first conversation. We were in a coffee shop in somewhere between Fort Worth and Dallas. I don't know where. And that was the thing that I said, okay, I'm going to know this person for the rest of my life, because you said, I always tell people you are the magic pill. And I was like, that's 100%. You just like took the words that were my brain was trying to put together in a sentence, and you made it like into this articulate thing that like gave it direction and clarity. So yeah, I'll never forget.
That's kind of funny. I don't even remember that. That's cool. That's wild how our minds are, right? Like you remember certain things and then you don't. And I've been loving learning about all that stuff. Anyways,
I like to believe that a well-trained memory only remembers things that are worth remembering. And then the rest of it, you can actually relegate to a place of non-memory. And I hope I hope I can continue to do that as I get older.
Yeah, I know you will. So you have a really awesome story, a fascinating story. I just think you're so smart, and you definitely are impacting the world in a positive way. So I'm want to say thank you for helping humanity first and foremost.
On behalf of humanity, thank you. That's very kind of you. I'll accept it. That's the best thing somebody said to me today, for sure. So thank you.
Well, I'm glad I could be that person to tell you this, that humanity thanks you.
Great. Okay. Humanity is a good thing to do things for, because we're part of it, right? And the more we do for our humanity, the more we do for ourselves too. It's you were talking about love before we jumped on and recorded, and I was thinking about that. The fact that what I love about it is when you love something or some person, you benefit from it because you get to feel the love, right? That's, sure, they might get it. They might be benefiting from it, but because you're putting yourself in that position where you're getting to feel it, you're winning already. That's the best thing about it.
I agree. Love is a very good thing to feel.
Yeah.
Okay. So I wanted to ask you about something that maybe you might not want to share, but I want you to share.
Okay.
So I wanted how we met, I do want to touch on that. So I
Okay.
used to be a territory sales rep for natural
Mm.
supplements, and I
Mhm.
walked into the cupboard in Denton that one day, and I had Udo Erasmus in town, which was amazing. He's known as the Fats Man, and we stumbled upon you, and you were selling, demoing your product, and you
Yep.
approached us, and I was like, wait, who is this guy? Because you were
You
a
were
fan of
like, back
Udo.
off.
Yeah, I was like, back off at Udo. He's with me.
He and I were like instant like friends too. It was like
Yeah.
there was no need for us to have chit chat or small conversation. Like immediately we were like straight into the yep, we are pals. And
Yeah.
yeah, you're like, who are you?
And then you came to that dinner training, and the rest is history.
That's
And
right.
so I love the fact that you were demoing. The reason why I brought that up is because you were demoing the sugar stopper, which is
Right.
this fascinating and incredible product that helped a lot of people. And I just thought that was really cool. And then so I started, promoting that and representing that product with you. And
That's
so we
right.
got to work together longer. So I wanted you to talk just briefly about the sugar stopper, but why you came up with that is really the reason
Oh, you
why I
just want me to
wanted.
talk about the fact that I was a fat kid. That's what you really want.
Yes. Yes. I want you to talk about how you used to be the fat kid.
Yeah, I had so it, like I was saying, when you start thinking about what you were and you see it from a fresh perspective, it's so hard to look back because you want to help that person, because you know what you know now and you think, oh man, they struggled through so many things. And yes, there was a period of my life when I was transitioning, I think, between elementary school and middle school. And I gained a ton of weight over the course of a winter, eating lots of sugar, and I didn't even realize, I guess, it had happened until I went back to school, and we were in a bit of a gym class situation where we had to run down to this certain pole and run back. And I remember running and being passed by who I thought was the kid who was overweight in class, and he passed me like I was sitting still. And then it was just this big moment where I kind of looked down and realized that I was the big kid. I was the fat kid in school. And this was, when I was younger, it wasn't so common, right? It wasn't so common for people to be struggling with weight as much as we are today. So it was a little, there wasn't as much information about it. And for me, I was a bit of a book nerd. And the biggest motivating factor is that as I would go to school, the girls were not giving the attention to me in the way that they were to other people. I was the sweet guy, right? So sweet, because I probably ate too many sweets. But I actually read a book by William H. Duffy called Sugar Blues. Luckily, very luckily, I came across this book, and for some reason I thought, okay, well, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna stop eating sugar. And that moment really helped me understand that we have so much more control over who we are and our health and how we feel. Because giving up sugar, as people have come to realize over the last 5-10 years, you don't just lose weight, you gain energy, you gain mental clarity, you gain more emotional control, right? You're less reactive to things. So I had all these side benefits from making a lifestyle change that I realized, oh my God, this is one of those secrets of life. How many more secrets are out there? I want to find them all.
That's cool.
So yeah. So that would lead me down that road to kind of continuously see people struggling with sugar and the misinformation about sugar. And I don't know if you remember, but when we were touring, is right when San Francisco University had outed those 3 Harvard scientists from 1967 that were paid by the sugar industry to falsify data. So that we've been actually laboring under false information for 50 years that sugar is not bad. So to go out and say that it was so counterculture. But yeah, all of this just kind of exploded into being like, oh my goodness, people need to know what they don't know. And that's what brought me into line with you, and we took it to the next level.
I love that, because you took what you thought was, bad or wrong or whatever, and then you found a solution for it, and then you lost a lot of weight, right?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. I forgot about that part. Yeah. Yes. Within a year, I was actually, then I was more of, I went from being the completely bottom rung, not able to do anything athletic, to being the top athletic person in the school.
I love that, because like you could have gone a different direction, right? You could have just been like, okay,
this is just who I am. This is how it is. I like sugar. I'm just going to keep eating it, you know, and, you know, you could have just felt sorry for yourself and gone into a depression about it. And I'm not saying that doesn't happen to some people. It does, you know, I've been there too. But at that point, you decided to explore options, and then you found a solution, and then you ran with it, so to speak.
Well, and then that experience, the best part about that was that it helped me to know from an experiential place that there's always something you can do to improve your situation, always. And sometimes you hit on these things that massively improve your situation, right? And you take these quantum leaps forward, and other ones, you know, yeah, it's a baby step forward, but it's still progress, right? So, and it's constantly looking for now, what are those things that I just completely didn't recognize were an anchor around my waist, really, you know, that I could get rid of. And sugar, discovering that sugar was that big piece was so helpful to help me understand that, you know, there's so much more you can do, that we have control.
Yeah. And so you lost weight, you felt great. And then you realized that there was all these new things to learn. And so you just went down this path. And now tell me more about what you do now, because that's really impacting a lot of people.
Well, yeah. Well, see, the interesting thing about nutrition in general is it's a young science, right? So we're still kind of discovering and understanding as we go all these pieces. And I'm always trying to distill things down to irrefutable facts, because it's one thing to know it for yourself, right? To have that experience and know that sugar is no longer a part of my life because it doesn't do anything for me. It may do a small thing for me, but the cost to it is so much greater than the benefit. But to help somebody else understand that's the journey right there. That's so hard sometimes, because you have to understand where somebody's coming from. You have to figure out, why would they be interested in hearing this in the first place, right? What do they want to solve for? And how can I communicate this to them? And so I find this with all the different things, every new little pearl, every new little like secret that I find, I want to share with people. So for example, yes, so my biggest passion right now is helping people understand that depression and anxiety are things that we can do so much more about than what we've been told we can do. The options that we have out there are horribly limited, and they're limited in their understanding, and they're limited in their communication of what they're doing. And most of the medications are actually outperformed by placebo, right? So
placebo, I love that. I love that you brought up placebo. I want to do a whole podcast episode about placebo effect, because it's just, it's the truth, you know?
Right.
I mean, yeah.
And I think, and here's where I always want to make a point about placebo, is if you can get a placebo effect in line with something that's truly healing somebody, do it, right? Why wouldn't you use that power? We don't want to think, oh, it's just a placebo. Well, yeah, it is a placebo, but it works, right? So that's what I love about nutrition and education. So when I found out that there's a Dr. Walsh in his books here behind me on the wall, because I give it to almost anybody who has depression. He looked at, for 35 years, he looked at 30,000 different individuals who suffer from depression and anxiety. And he looked at millions of labs. And by far, he said, the most common biochemical problem we found is a zinc deficiency. So who would think, no one would think, oh, I'm depressed, maybe I need more zinc. But when you get into the understanding of it, and how all of the neurotransmitters that you need to feel healthy are dependent upon zinc. You need zinc to be able to actually make the vitamin B to have the effect on those. So it's interesting that he pointed that out. And now it's on me to say, okay, I know this. And to me, I can see it. How do I get somebody else to understand that? And as we go out and where we're teaching these doctors how to do this, we have simple ways to test that. But it's been the most exciting thing for me to see that we can eliminate so many things that are not working and give them so many more tools that are actually going to give them an effect. And then when we educate them on why it's working, we get the double benefit of the placebo on top of the actual biochemistry working. So it's super exciting.
That is exciting. My goodness.
You got me. I don't want to go off too long because what we were talking about earlier, 2 ears and 1 mouth, right? So I want to make sure that
No, I want, like, you know, I talk all the time on this little show of mine. So I definitely want to have your wisdom, because I guess, the reason why I really wanted you on my podcast is to teach people that, they are the magic pill, that they need to go on that path, that if they have something that they're struggling with, like depression or anxiety, or like some kind of disease, or just anything that's going on, like me with the vitiligo, that we do have that power to heal ourselves, or to find, the answer to it, and not just take it, just like
Right.
your weight loss, the sugar, like you gained weight, you realized it was the sugar, so you took the path to heal yourself. And so that's like what I love that you do, is that you teach people, you educate them on the ways that they can heal themselves. And so I want you to share your wisdom so people can become aware that this is actually truth.
Well, they have to know it for themselves now. It used to be that people would look for shortcuts. They would trust somebody who's an expert on something and just take their advice on it. But that doesn't work, because people need to understand why it's working now. Because too many times that's been abused. It's been somebody said, well, this is all you need to take to cure this disease or to stop that from happening. And it doesn't work for people. And it's because they don't understand why it's not working or why it is working. And once they do, right, and they got to be educated. We have to take control of because if we do that, we also take responsibility for our own health. And that's the other thing, is if we are educated about it, now we're also responsible for it, and we know what we can and we can't do. So
that's very true. Very true. And maybe some people aren't ready to quite look at that, but hopefully by bringing awareness to the fact that you can change things, then maybe people will start looking at it. There was something that you said, it made me remember, or maybe think of, that the whole key to it is the belief, the belief that you can actually do it. And so you have more belief when you have more awareness, when you have more education, like what you're doing, and you see it,
right.
When you start believing it, then you start to see it. And so, yeah.
And you have to, because the beliefs that we've been handed by well-meaning people, right? Preachers, teachers, our parents, were just what they were taught were the limits. And when I do a health talk called Medicine's Blind Spot, and we talk about this a lot, because people get a diagnosis, and the term idiopathic will always be in front of that, right? Idiopathic, all that means is we don't know what's causing it, or we don't know why this is happening. And I always tell people, just because that person said it's idiopathic, or that one doctor said that doesn't mean that nobody knows the answer. It just means that they don't know the answer. And that's a huge eye opener for people, because they feel, well, I got this diagnosis, all of the doctors in the world must have got together and agreed upon a consensus and say, yep, this is a diagnosis person. But when you put that term idiopathic in front of it, that means they've just reached the end of their knowledge. It doesn't make them a bad practitioner. It doesn't make them a bad person. It just means that they can't help you because they don't know, right? But that doesn't mean that there isn't somebody else out there who does. And so we need to understand the function of things a lot more, so that we can get past that idiopathic situation into where we're understanding the why it's happening. So.
Yes,
right?
Very well said. You've just listened to part 1 of my 2-part series with Dustin Strong. Please join us on the next episode of You Are the Magic Pill, as Dustin and I continue our conversation on Strong on Health. All right, I'll see you next time.
Thank you for joining me today on You Are the Magic Pill. My hope is that you leave this podcast feeling better about yourself, inspired, activated, and ready to swallow your fears to realize your dreams. I would be honored if you would leave me a 5-star review over in iTunes. Each week I'll randomly choose one person to win some You Are the Magic Pill swag. Make sure you add your name to the review, and I'll reach out to you if you're the winner. I really appreciate you spending your time with me today. Be sure to pop over to youarethemagicpill.com for past episodes and more gifts to help you wake up and realize that you are the magic pill, and you can change it all to have it all.